I recently made a video where I explored the term WASP, White Anglo-Saxon Protestant. In that video, I received this comment that I think is worth exploring. I even find it challenging in the way that I want to be challenged as this host, this expert of nothing that I am. Our friend Miguel Gonzalez, which is a faithful viewer to this channel. Man, this guy, he watches like every video and comments on most of them. And I really like this comment. Here it is. Quote, "You seem to be culturally WASP. White appearance could pass as Anglo-Saxon and completely assimilated Protestant, even though your DNA would show that maybe you're only 50%. Also, your points of view have that tendency and a sample of that is that you don't want the Trump wall due to economic reasons and not a word of sympathy towards Mexicans. By the way, if you are almost a quarter Native American, shouldn't that be reflected in your videos?" End quote. That's a very intelligent notion. I look forward to answering this right now. So, as far as the Trump wall, he's pointing out that the times that I have expressed my opinions on the Trump wall, that my answer did not reflect sympathy toward Mexicans, but instead was focused on economic reasons. I would not argue that one bit. It is true in the other videos, even when you saw me with my mother, who is half Mexican, or we could say half of her ethnic background and lineage goes back to Mexico, she's in favor of the wall. I'm not in favor of the wall, but if you saw that video, it's like a 15-minute video that we had a lot of fun making, you would see that my reasoning was that I don't think that it makes any economical sense. I think that if we're fearing that illegal Mexicans are going to come here and take our jobs, ultimately putting up a wall just means they can still fly over and overstay their visit. Not to mention, our United States economy is based on a black market. It's the fact that people who are born here in America don't want the jobs, therefore the illegal, undocumented Mexicans are willing to take those jobs that no one else wants. Meanwhile, the people born in America can live on welfare instead of picking oranges out of trees all day. Okay, working at the slaughterhouses. There you go. Painting houses. That's all an economic focus and nothing to do with sympathy toward Mexicans. So let me address that. What about the Mexicans? Which, yes, there's irony in that, because again, I just said that, well, for me, a quarter of my identity goes back to Mexico. But what does that really mean? I'm a third generation Mexican American, and even that's kind of loosely termed, I would say. Here's why I'm not showing sympathy towards Mexican people. Because ultimately, and I could easily be wrong, but it appears that most people in Mexico are against the wall. I'm seeing a trend, however, that when you look at Mexican Americans living in the United States, whether they were born here as citizens or whether they came here from Mexico and became citizens, either way, there's mixed feedback, I feel, from Mexican Americans living in the United States. There are those like my mom who would say, we got here illegally, our family got here illegally with papers, so how is it fair that other people are coming here illegally and getting to be a part of this country? Our ancestors worked hard to get here the right way. And I think a lot of Mexican Americans feel that way and have commented that on my videos. Makes total sense. Then there's also Mexican Americans who have family here that are undocumented, that are not legal, and they are still against the wall because they don't want to see families torn apart. So I totally get both sides of it. And ultimately, there's my opinion. My opinion is I have sympathy for both. I can imagine, I can relate to both sides of that. That we came here the right way. Why should they get to come here illegally? And it's this sense that people here in the United States that are Mexican Americans see those who are legal as different, not the same as them. We're American, they're not. We're Mexican American, they're undocumented immigrants. And then totally, I can only have compassion imagining children being torn away from parents because the parents weren't born here, but the children were. So I have a lot of compassion for everybody that I've just described. But for me, I feel that so much of my decisions are based on emotional intelligence. Don't get caught up in the emotion of it. Let's look at this from a practical point of view. Therefore, it's not about having compassion for one side or the other. It's, would this wall even work if we built it, if we spent billions of dollars to do it? And my simple answer is no, it would not actually solve the problem. And even if we kept illegal Mexicans from crossing the border, we're still going to have a shortage of jobs, and it's going to cause people who are on welfare and disability to have to start climbing trees and picking oranges and going to the slaughterhouses and killing animals. It's going to force that shift. And are we ready for that? Ultimately, I'm looking at things from a practical point of view. Do I have compassion for Mexican Americans and Mexicans? Can I understand both of their viewpoints? Absolutely. But as I've said before, ultimately, our opinions don't matter. My opinion about what I've said in this video doesn't change anything. And ultimately, stuff other people say about it doesn't really matter either. Our opinions don't make a difference on what's actually going on. We live in this false hope that it does. We want to believe that if we're passionate enough about our opinions and base it on emotions and human lives, then it will make a difference. It won't. That alone is not enough. And we can look at the pro-life issue with this. Half the population believes that babies are being killed. The other half believes that women's rights are being discriminated against. It doesn't matter how much emotion or passion or compassion you have for either side, that's not enough to make the difference. And I understand that, being the entertainer that I am. That's all I am. I recognize all I have are opinions. If we're honest, that's all really most of us have anyway. Our opinions aren't going to change what's actually going on with the wall, with immigration. I recognize that. Why? Because it's beyond emotions. It comes down to economically what would actually make sense. So there's my response. I hope I cleared some things up. I think this is fascinating. If we can have an emotionally intelligent conversation to keep this going, I'm all for it. Remember, this channel is based on me looking for intelligent conversation. Ultimately, when I get comments of people basically saying that I'm ignorant, that I'm wrong, that I'm immoral, then I sort of check out, because that people are on YouTube to prove each other wrong. For me, I just want to have a conversation, and I want it to be an intelligent one. So let's do that right here in the comments.